Welcome to the Contrarians and to another episode of Battle of the Rock. Tonight, AC/DC Highway to Hell takes on AC/DC Powerage. It's Bond versus Bond. Let's do this. The panel's here. Let's do it. Welcome to the Contrarians and to another episode of Battle of the Rock. How's that sound? There you go. Tonight we're talking AC/DC Powerage versus AC/DC Highway to Hell. So it's Bond against Bond. And look at this panel. First of all, the Parish of Rock is here, ladies and gentlemen. Look at how he's glowing, like he's just glowing. And then the Elder of Rock is here. And then look at this. We've got some new blood on the channel. We've got West Coast Dave here. And I was just talking to these gentlemen because, Parrish is going to take him around back here shortly and haze him because, that's the way it goes here on the Contrarians. You get hazed if you're new. But
okay,
to be quite honest, he won't be hazed. We like new blood on this show. But you've been stalking us for a while, right, Dave?
Yeah, sure. Probably a couple years or something.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, then shit. There you go. God. Well, welcome aboard. Glad to have you. Hope you contribute more on these shows. So, Powerage versus Highway to Hell, right? Wait a minute.
Yep.
God, I can't. I'm going to screw this up. We're looking at There you go. God, look at you. Bless you.
Yeah. There you go. He's prepared. Hey, good.
Yeah. Good. Well, I don't have to hold up anything. All right, so we're looking at Powerage versus Highway to Hell. Now, on these Battle of Rock shows, if you kept track, we're going to go around and get everybody's take, and I want their rating out of 10. Now, if you've been keeping track, Martin likes to do everybody all at once. I don't find that works as well. I'd rather just cover one record, everybody go around, spend a half an hour on the record, and then go to the next record. So, I'm going to start us off, and I think I'm going to just go Parrish, Elder, and then Dave. I should really start out with Dave. Throw him right out there.
Yeah, chuck him in it.
Chuck him right in. Just get him right in there. Now we're going to go Parrish, the Elder, and then Dave. West Coast Dave, ladies and gentlemen. And I want your thoughts on Highway to Hell and your rating out of 10. All right, Parrish, go ahead.
Okay,
I would give more of an intro, but everyone knows AC/DC on this damn channel. What more should I have to say?
Well,
Go
firstly,
ahead.
The question is, what is this album called? I always thought it was called Powerage. And then I heard someone, I think it was Guitar Hack, but I may be wrong, that said
Powerage?
It's actually pronounced Powerage, the same way
I've always said Powerage. But
yeah,
I
always said Powerage.
There's no space, though.
Yeah, so it's like wattage or voltage, it's Powerage.
Yeah, but have you ever met Guitar Hack? Come Does he really know?
But I've always known it as Powerage. But I thought I'd throw that in to start with. So this was my introduction to AC/DC. I was listening to the radio, nighttime radio back in '78. They played Rock and Roll Damnation, which was the first AC/DC song I heard. Went out the next day, bought the single. B-side was Sin City. And I was just hooked on AC/DC ever since. So this was my introduction. And as an album, I think it's a great album. We'll come on to whether it's my favourite one in a bit later, but I definitely think it's a great album. And the tracks, they just keep coming, don't they? So Rock and Roll Damnation's brilliant. Give Me a Bullet's fantastic. Riff Raff is such a good sort of opening track and was the opener. On the If You Want Blood live album that followed. Sin City, my second favourite AC/DC song. Cold Hearted Man is such a brooding, menacing song. And then you got Kicked in the Teeth, which is so good that Martin has used it as the title for his AC/DC podcast. So who am I to disagree that that's a fantastic song? So there's just so many highlights on the album. I think the album cover's really good. Somebody had it earlier to hold up. I think the album cover's really good with Angus. But
that's like the That's like the international album. Is the Australian album all that hot though?
Well, it's the international one is the one I know. So,
Okay, well there you
so
go.
that's so I think that's really good with the cables coming out as if he's like a robot or an android or something wired up. So I think the album cover's really good. The back, and can you flip it round?
Come on, Dave. Come on.
So I think the I can't actually see it on the screen, but isn't
We're
it
gonna
a
make
band shot?
Dave work this show.
I still have the shrink wrap on it. Here, I took it off.
Here we go. Yeah.
No, God, you don't want to do that.
So you've got the band shot of them looking like pretty badass, I think, and with Angus with that sneer at the front. Sort of, you wouldn't want to mess with him, certainly, even though he's dressed like a schoolboy. I don't think you'd want to mess with him.
No.
So, yeah, just a really brilliant album, I think. And I would give this a 9.5 out of 10 is my ranking on this one.
Whoa. 9.5 out of 10, Parrish. All right.
Yeah. And sorry, I should have added at the beginning, AC/DC is my favourite band of all time. So these albums are all going to rank high as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, 9.5 out of 10.
So let me ask you this real quick. What was your first AC/DC? What was your gateway drug to AC/DC? What album was it? Or
it was this album. As I said,
this album.
Yeah, it was Rock and Roll Damnation that introduced me to AC/DC. That song on the radio, and then buying the single. So this was the album that brought me into them.
Bless your heart. All right, cool.
Up to this point, I was a punk. I was just into.
You were a punk?
I was a punk. I was into the punk music. Sex Pistols, the Damned, well, not so much the Clash, but yeah, Stranglers, Damned, Sex Pistols, Boomtown Rats, all that kind of thing. And then I heard this, and it changed me. It changed me from being a.
But
punk
I don't think
to a
this
heavy
is all
rocker.
that far off from punk.
I don't think it is either. No,
No, not
Think
really.
about it's more like pub rock, but it's really not that far off. Anyway, all right. Thank you, Parrish. So far, we've got a 9.5, ladies and gentlemen. Things are looking up. All right. I'm going to throw it over to the Elder of Rock. Elder, what's your thoughts on this record and your rating out of 10?
All right, cool. Well, my gateway drug to AC/DC, I'm thinking about it. I believe was, if you remember, a show called The Midnight Special.
100%.
They had an episode with Ted Nugent hosting, and he had AC/DC on, and as well as Cheap Trick and some others. And Steven Tyler was on. They played the video for "Come Together" from Sgt. Pepper. But anyway, AC/DC was on there, and I just remember really being, blown away by him. I believe they did Sin City. So my gateway album was the live album. If You Want Blood, You've Got It, and then. I believe, though, even though they played Sin City, I think that then I didn't get any album until Highway to Hell, I believe, because I kind of remember that being my second album. However, after that, I got the back catalog pretty quick, and I did get this album. Oh, where is it? Yeah. This Powerage was, how I said it, Powerage was always became like a really favorite album of mine. Now, I don't have that version with Cold Hearted Man on it, so I don't really know that song.
That was only on the Australian version, right?
No, it was on the UK version.
It was on the UK version, not on the Australian version?
Because my track listing is Rock and Roll Damnation, Down Payment Blues, Give Me a Bullet, Riff Raff. And then side 2 is Sin City, What's Next to the Moon, Gone Shooting, Up to My Neck and You, and Kicked in the Teeth. So. But,
interesting.
But anyway, I always, like I said, this is a great album.
I'm just looking on Wikipedia. The original European release had a different track listing to the later albums. So Cold Hearted Man was on the original UK release, but was omitted later. That's interesting. I never knew that.
Now, did Cold Hearted Man come out on something else other than...
I've never heard that song really. I may have heard it maybe once somewhere, but I don't know it. I'm not familiar with it. But I don't know what song it replaced on this or vice versa. I don't know what they
No, it was 10 tracks.
Oh, it was 10 tracks. I see. So we only got 9.
I've got is Rock and Roll Damnation, Give Me a Bullet, Down Pavement Blues, Gone Shooting, Riff Raff, Sin City, Up to Your Neck in You, What's Next to the Moon, Cold Hearted Man,
Okay.
and Kicking the Teeth.
I've got the
But
scoop.
it does say that was the original European release.
All right, Cold Hearted
Okay.
Man, sung by AC/DC, recorded during the Powerage sessions in 1978, but not included on the standard international track list for the album. Below is a concise overview based on the available information. Recorded at Albert Studios, Harry Vand and George Young, not part of the standard 9-track Powerage release, e.g. US or international versions, but included on some European and some Australian vinyl pressings of Powerage as a bonus track, bringing the track count to 10. It also appeared on the 1978 European 12-inch maxi single for Rock and Roll Damnation, and later on compilation albums like Iron Man 2 soundtrack.
Oh, wow.
I'll have to
Now,
check this
are
in.
you trying to say I need to buy the Iron Man 2 soundtrack?
Oh,
Is
yeah,
that what
wow.
he's trying to say?
It's the
I
closest.
guess, wow.
It's the closest you get to a greatest hits from AC/DC, that album. Anyway,
That's true, too, yeah.
Wait a minute. No, we got it. Wait a minute. Hold on. You're saying that the Iron Man soundtrack is a must?
it's a greatest hits.
It's like it's like a greatest hits, but it's not a greatest hits. It's not called a greatest hits album, but it is. Does it have like many of their hits on it?
All right.
Of course, what isn't a hit by ACD? I mean, as far as like
Cold Hearted Man, it says
songs.
Cold Hearted Man is considered a deep cut, appreciated by hardcore AC/DC fans for its raw energy and Bon Scott's performance. God, now I want to hear it. I've never heard it.
Yeah, it wasn't even on. It wasn't even on Bonfire, the box set. It wasn't even on that.
That's what I was going to ask. I was maybe going to dig that out, but
yeah, I don't think it was even on.
All
that.
right, looks like I'm gonna have to get the damn Iron Man 2 soundtrack. Wait a minute. It said later releases included on the Backtracks box set in 2009 and Iron Man 2 soundtrack 2010, which
Backtracks.
compiled AC/DC rarities and hits. I know we're on a tangent, but some people may really want to hear Cold Hearted Man and they haven't.
I do too now. I want to hear it now too because
it's definitely worth getting the Iron Man 2 soundtrack. So these are the songs that are on it.
Okay, go ahead.
Shoot to Thrill, Rock and Roll Damnation, Guns for Hire, Cold Hearted Man, Back in Black, Thunderstruck, If You Want Blood, Evil Walks, TNT, Hell Ain't a Bad Place to Be, Have a Drink on Me, The Razor's Edge, Let There Be Rock, War Machine, and Highway to Hell.
God darn it.
So it's a pretty...
And No, You Shook Me All Night Long. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, there you go.
Every single song on that soundtrack is by AC/DC. Isn't that a little strange?
Every single one is by AC/DC.
That's kind of cool, though, isn't it?
It's kind of the closest you get to a greatest hits or a best of. But
there you go. You thought we were gonna do a Battle of the Rock, but here we're just here trying to turn you on to stuff. So
I think that Robert Downey Jr. is a big AC/DC fan. I think that's how that is, or maybe it's. I think that's why that happened that way.
Okay, cool. God, I love this show already.
And value now my Powerage album. Now.
Yeah, I guess so. Because yours is like.
I hadn't realized it was an early edition that was different from the later pressings. So.
Good for you, Parrish. All right. All right, Elder, keep going since I interrupted. But, we're just we're just four guys here talking music, so it's all good. Go ahead.
No, and then, just like I said, no, I have no problem with this album. Maybe the production is a little bit weird. Some of the songs, a couple of songs I don't care for. Not that they're bad. I just like Up to My Neck in You and Give Me a Bullet have just never really been like some of my favorite AC/DC songs. And I've always wondered this picture right here. And if you look at this picture, I think this is from the same session. I think this is just from the same photo session as this.
I think it is too. And they just kind of doctored it, made it work.
And then I have a t-shirt of this as well. I got not back in the day, but I got like maybe 10 years ago or something at Hot Topic or something. They had it there.
Hot Topic.
Yeah. I was like, so I'll get that one because that's one of my favorite albums. So so
look at Dave. Dave coming in there for the win.
That's the Australian version, I guess, of Highway to Hell.
It is, yeah.
Now is that the original? Is that the booklet out of the CD or what is
It's on
that?
the back of a 2003 series of reissues, which
No,
is
that was the
Oh,
original.
I'd have
That
that.
was the original cover in Australia, I think.
You know, a lot of people, if you go like on the Steve Hoffman sites and look for the best versions of the AC/DC albums, a lot of the people say that those original Albert CDs from Australia sound absolutely, because they're not futzed with, they sound really good. I don't have one. I've got Dirty Deeds. I got an original Albert pressing on vinyl of Dirty Deeds.
Wow.
Someone said, Jesus, Grant, that's worth some dough. I said, I could have
Might
pulled
be.
it, but I didn't. But,
so look for the Albert pressings.
well, you'll never find the Albert CDs just out there in the wild. They're like all in Australia and, they're like expensive.
Find them on eBay or something.
But usually the Albert ones have like the front of them, the CD will be like black with white text, and it'll be like those early polygram CDs where they silk screen the whole front of the CD. I don't know. There's different versions, but I don't have any of those. I just know that they're legendary for sound quality. That's all I know. So anyway, Elder, what are you going to give this?
So I will give this album, same as Parrish, 9.5.
Jesus, we're looking good. All right, cool. Thank you, Elder. Let's throw it over to Dave. Now, everybody be gentle with him. He's new here.
Okay, cool. So I was just going to talk about, well, first of all, I did not have these albums growing up. This wasn't really my style of music too much. I was into Rush. Okay. So to me, this was like simple,
Well, it is simple.
But that's the whole beauty of it. See, that's just something I didn't understand back then. That if you can play one or two chords and have it sound majestic and in your face and make you want to scrunch up your face and headbang and do all this, that it's just as great. I wasn't really appreciating that when I was a little kid, though. But anyway, I mean, when I was a little kid, I heard like Big Balls on Dr. Demento.
I did too.
Which is, I grew up in Santa Barbara, and so I think KMET used to play Dr. Demento, and so that's where I first heard Big Balls, which actually isn't a bad introduction because that's how you kind of learn that AC/DC is about anti-establishment, sort of punk rock. They're making fun of high society, they're down in the dirt, they're in the gutter drinking beer and stuff like that. So anyway, I like that song, kinda. I remember when Dirty Deeds came out. That song really caught my ear. This was later, though, but still love that song. That's still one of my favorite songs. And then Highway to Hell was another one when I was growing up that I didn't have AC/DC albums, but I remember hearing that song, loving it, called the radio station in Santa Barbara, KTYD, to play it. And stood on the line for a really long time, back when people used to call radio stations to make requests and they would actually play them. And he told me, we don't play that crap. And he hung up on me. So I guess he
No
was
way. Is that right?
yeah. I guess maybe he was a little religious or something.
What did he know?
What did he know?
My first two AC/DC albums were actually, I remember having For Those About to Rock and Fly on the Wall. Those were kind of my introduction AC/DC albums. So I had some AC/DC when I was growing up, but I didn't really get into it until later. In 78 and 79, when these albums came out, I was only 8 and 9. So I was, a little too young to really understand what was happening there with AC/DC. But, and like I said, I was kind of into different kind of music. But then I learned AC/DC, they're anti-establishment, they're sleazy, they're irreverent, and my mom would absolutely hate them. She doesn't know who they are, I don't think. But like she always hated the Rolling Stones. So it's music your parents would hate, and so of course kids are going to get into that. It's forbidden, When somebody tells me not to do something because it's bad, it piques my curiosity a little bit. So
I get you.
over time that kind of happened. But okay, anyway, so this album's called Powerage. I always want to say Powerage.
I can't help myself. I always say Powerage.
I have always called it Powerage. But anyway, if we're starting with the production, it's kind of dry sounding, like you're in the room with them. I guess a lot of people think this is the Vanda Young combo production team that made the first few AC/DC albums. A lot of people see this as their finest achievement, like this is what they're trying to accomplish with all those other albums. And I do think it sounds really good like that, the band's playing in your room. And I'm just going to go through some of the songs that I really like. Of course, Rock and Roll Damnation. Now, I remember Martin Popoff saying when he was a kid and this album came out, they were disappointed with Rock and Roll Damnation because it is a little poppier. It wasn't heavy enough for he and his headbanging buddies. And you know what? That's totally okay with me. When they start out with those chords that hang in the air, AC/DC is kind of formulaic, right? In a good way, though. They do that a lot. They'll start with these big ringing chords, and then all of a sudden they'll kick into something. And when they kick in this song, it's got a great vibe, man. It's just a head nodder. It's all groove. And that's something else that I learned to appreciate later in music was groove, and they got it all over the place with Rock and Roll Damnation. I always think, I'm in a band and I write too. And when I write songs, I always think, what would be a really fun thing to sing, even for the singer or the backup singers? And I think the chorus is great. How the backup singers are, the backup vocals are going damnation. I was just like, yeah, that's cool. You want to sing along with it, and go damnation. So I'm totally
100%.
into that. So the chorus I think is great. And I'm really into Bon Scott's lyrics too. This song has a line where he says, take a chance while you still got the choice. That's nice. Anyway, I give the song 10 out of 10. Down Payment Blues, though, has my favorite Bon Scott line of all time. Doing nothing means a lot to me. And that says it all, man. I mean, I don't want to go to work. I don't want to be responsible. I don't want to be productive member of society. I don't want to be respectable. And so that's just great. I did notice that Cliff Williams, bass player, this is his first album. He's definitely got a nice pulsating bass riff on that song, which is a Stones riff. It's Street Fighting Man. You play them back to back. It sounds very, very similar. I like, also on that song, I like how it fades out on this kind of mellow blues riff that's different from the rest of the song. So they're changing it up a little. And part of the time when I'm listening to Powerage, it makes me wonder, would Mutt Lange have made them cut some of those cool little things out of the songs, like the little riffs that go into riffs, like on Riff Raff, which is the next song we're going to talk about. It's now some of these songs, if I sit around and I play them on guitar, I get bored. You get bored if you're by yourself because it's the same thing over and over. Riff Raff can still hold my attention the whole time I'm playing it because it has multiple sections in it, which I really like. And once again, it makes me wonder if Mutt Lange would have made him cut some of that stuff out. But anyway, it's just a great combination of various riffs. It's a more complicated side of AC/DC. They don't usually play songs that are as complicated as Riff Raff. It's up-tempo. It's almost got a dance feel. They invented Guns N' Roses right here. Listen to it. Think about Guns N' Roses. Axl actually sang Riff Raff. I've seen it on YouTube, when he filled in when Brian Johnson couldn't do it. But the feeling is low class. It's rude. It's tacky. The words fit the music. I like how the beginning crescendos into a fun single note blues line, but whenever AC/DC starts doing that kind of stuff, I really like it. Like Beating Around the Bush on the next album is kind of similar like that. It's got a real rollicking feel, and then Bon Scott is just on fire. Another great line in that song is Bon sings, laugh yourself in half. I like that a lot. That's really nice. I always think, like, if I would have written that, would it just disappear in some notebook, or would I keep it and go like, oh yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one right there. So once again, that's like a 10 out of 10 AC/DC song for me. Same with Sin City. I think if you didn't know who AC/DC was, Sin City would be a great place to start. Rich man, poor man, beggar man, thief, ain't got a hope in hell. That's my belief. Those are just beautiful lines. It's gritty, it's hard rocking. There's a dynamic breakdown, and they break it all down, and then they build it back up. So that part's a lot of fun. And then the last song I wanted to talk about was Kicked in the Teeth. Like I think Paris said, it's an intense, fast number. It's a lot of fun. There's a great vocal intro to that. Angus fills up this whole start and stop section. It starts playing all these little squirrely fills, and then his guitar solo in that is just crazy. And that song sounds a lot like Whole Lotta Rosie, but that's okay. It's AC/DC. They can kind of reference themselves sometimes and still be okay, as long as your head is nodding up and down. When I listen to Kicked in the Teeth, I could just picture sweat flying all around and just doing his duck walk and all that kind of stuff. So that's really cool. I'm gonna give this album a 9. I'm gonna give it a 9.
Damn. All right. Thank you, Dave. Awesome. Excellent. This panel is on fire. Our ratings are on fire. This should have been a live show, but I didn't get it together. If we would have done this live, we could have got everybody's. Well, I wouldn't want to throw Dave out there live. He'd probably be okay though.
It's all right. It's just
Anyway,
like this, except for live.
It's like this except for live. But if you haven't done it, could be nerve-wracking. But I don't know.
See, comments coming up about yourself might be kind of, I don't know about
Well,
that.
like, oh, you suck. Things like that.
Maybe that might be okay.
Yeah, but
that's usually pretty
I could
cool.
probably take that.
Pretty cool.
I was going to say,
Usually
to be
pretty
fair,
cool.
Dave, they only ever say that about Grant.
Yeah, they say that about me. Oh,
Yeah, they say that about
we
Grant,
did that
that's it.
show on the Doors on Sea of Tranquility on Saturday.
Yeah.
And people were going, Grant, you do not know what you're talking about, blah, blah, blah. LA Woman, that's as good as the debut album. And I'm going, no, man, there's some filler on LA Woman, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry.
Well, I haven't watched that show yet, but man, I could get into that all day, that conversation all day long, man.
There's filler on LA Woman. It's not like the debut in Strange Days. There's filler on it. Come on. People are out of their mind.
It's
It's
poetry,
the last
man.
one with Jim. Yeah, but Jim, they were all. I'm not even going to go into it. But it's, all right, so my
That's for that show.
That's for that show. I've already talked about the Doors. All right, so Powerage 1978, Harry Vanda, George Young. And we already talked about that bonus track that evidently Parrish is special. His pressing's different than everybody else's.
Yeah, they did it specially for me.
But I like, because Dave mentioned how up front the production is. It's kind of raw. It's down and dirty. But the thing is with the Vanda Young production, it's always very clean and everything's very upfront and you can hear everything really well. I love it. I love all the songs. Rock and Roll Damnation is a classic. Riff Raff is a classic. Sin City's a classic. Kicked in the Teeth, Up to My Neck and You. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great record. And it's just amazing that this only got up to 133 on the U.S. charts. A lot of people kind of look at this as kind of a cult favorite, I think it's great. If I'm going to give this a rating, I would always choose this over Highway to Hell because for some reason, Mutt Lange always kind of rubs me the wrong way, even though I think the production on Highway to Hell and Back in Black are good. But, when you look at his Def Leppard stuff, it just drives me crazy. I would give this, I think I would be happy giving this. Is this the best stuff of this era at this point? Maybe, maybe not. I think I'd be comfortable giving it a 9 out of 10. I love it. Be interesting to see what we do with the next one. So anyway, all right, so we come up with a 9.25. And like I said, everybody, we're just trying to turn you on to stuff. So that's all this is about. If you haven't heard any AC/DC, I would say, and I'm assuming the panel would agree that This would be one you could start out with.
Absolutely.
a bad start.
Absolutely. All right. Let's move on.
I would say that like hardcore AC/DC fans, there's probably a lot of them out there that would call this their favorite AC/DC album. Powerage.
Whatever it's called.
Whatever you want to call it.
All right. Cool. Let's look at our next record. We're going to look at Highway to Hell. It's a lot slicker. You've got Mutt Lange back in the well, not back. This is his first appearance in the producer's chair. Because we looked at Powerage and it's much more raw. Seems more live to me. This sounds more like a studio creation, but not all that different. Okay. But Highway to Hell was a global hit. This brought AC/DC to the masses. So, some people think Powerage is the rawest work, and some people look at Highway to Hell as their most commercial peak with Scott. I don't know what this panel's going to say, but we're going to check it out and see what they say. Parrish, I'm going to throw it over to you. What is your thoughts on Highway to Hell? And your ranking of 10.
If I was writing in the comments, I would say you don't know what you're talking about, Grant.
100%.
And the reason I would say that
Powerage isn't raw at all.
No, it is raw, but it was the fact you said that maybe this was overproduced. That was the bit I disagree with.
I don't think I said it was overproduced.
Okay.
I said it was slicker than what came before.
That's true. So I'm gonna put it.
See how people change my words, everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, got to twist them around. Okay. So right out the gate, I have a confession. This is my favorite album of all time.
Oh God, we're doomed.
So from that point of view, what else do I say after that? So I just think this is a perfect album. Every song in it is fantastic. The opening track, Highway to Hell, is outstanding. I think the production's great. I think this is Matt Lange. This and the Boomtown Rat albums, I think, is Matt Lange at his best. He started to overproduce from that point onwards, but around this time of 78, 79, I think he was an outstanding producer at this point.
Do you think Back in Black is overproduced?
No, to be fair. In fact, in some ways, that's slightly less produced, I think, than this one. But certainly after 1980, I mean, Foreigner 4 is not too bad either, is it?
Foreigner 4 is fine.
But after 80, I would say 81 onwards is when he started to have too much.
Did he do a Cars album too?
Heartbeat City.
Yeah, but I think that's pretty produced.
It's pretty produced, but it's not like anything that he did with Def Leppard.
Yeah,
I think at this stage, where he excels as a producer is he helps with the songwriting. He gets the songs perfected. He's great at helping the bands actually raise their game. I mean, you listen to Angus and in the past, Malcolm Young talk about what he did. He would sit down. He would actually show them how to play particular riffs. Apparently, what he did with Bon Scott, he almost got Bon Scott singing entirely differently because of the way it was catching in his vocals. And I think that was what made him great at this stage, was how he could get the best out of up and coming bands. I think later he went into overkill, where he thought he could micromanage the albums and the bands as opposed to get the best out of them. On this one, and to be fair, on all of the Bon Scott, I think the lyrics are fantastic. They're tongue-in-cheek. The double entendres always make me smile. But you know, it's always done with a sort of a cheeky grin, I think, with Bon Scott. So I think the lyrics are great. You've got the sort of the asides that I think really come into this, such as the end of Shot Down in Flames, when you sort of get the as you're falling away. You get the Shazbot Nanu Nanu at the end of the album. Those sort of little throwaway things that probably were done for a joke, but get kept into the album. I think are great. But the songs are what does it for me. Highway to Hell, Girls Got Rhythm, my all-time favourite AC/DC song, Touch Too Much. Shot Down in Flames, I think, is good. or great. Get it, get it. What's it? Get it hot.
Get hot.
Get
Yeah.
it hot. Yeah. If you want blood, and then yeah, they can go dark as well with Night Prowler, which is quite a brooding, sort of dark song right to close the album, which is not, I don't think, in keeping with the rest of it really, from a tone point of view. I just think it's fantastic, start to finish. As I say, my favourite album of all time. Am I allowed to give an 11 out of 10?
Yes.
Is that allowed?
Yes, you are allowed. Go ahead.
11 out of 10 on this
All
one.
right, that's fine. I'll take an 11.
Parish's ratings go to 11.
Well, there you go. An album. Parrish likes this album a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah, it's the same as every other album that you can turn up to 10. You can just turn it one notch more.
Hey, if you guys want to give this album an 11, I'm good. So we're all good. All right, thanks, Parrish. Let's throw it over to the Elder of Rock and see what his take is on it and your rating out of 10 or 11.
Yeah, Parrish, I pretty much agree with everything he said. It's not my favorite, other than it's my favorite album the whole time. I don't even know what that would be. I don't think about that, but it is one of my favorite albums of all time. I think, like you said, the songs are there. I remember putting this on and Highway to Hell coming on, and just, then that drum kicks in, and it's just like, whoa. And it's in the chorus, and it's just all that good stuff. I remember it started to get some radio play. That was great. And then it just goes into Girls Got Rhythm. Great, catchy, bouncy song. Walk All Over You. Nice, kind of longer song. Starts out kind of brooding and, goes on. Touch Too Much. Great song, great single. Beating Around the Bush. Great rocker. Great guitar riff there. I remember trying to play that once in a cover band. The guitar player was having trouble getting that opening riff. Shot Down in Flames, great side opener. Get It Hot, I remember hearing on the radio even a couple of times, and it's kind of like a deep cut for AC/DC, but it's a really good song. Every time this song comes on, I listen to this album, I hear that song. It's like, yeah, it's kind of a forgotten track. Nobody ever talks about it. You don't ever hear it really. I don't know if they've ever played it live, or if they did, it was probably way back then. I don't think they played it live since then. If You Want Blood, You've Got It was pretty cool because it was the name of the live album. So you got a title track for the live album here. Love Hungry Man, great song. Sounds like it could have been a single as well. And then Night Prowler, great brooding, almost doomy type song. If AC/DC doing doom, maybe you could say. Great. And I love the production. I love all the songs on it. The production's great. And noticing in this, it says produced by Robert John Lang. So he wasn't even going by Mutt yet, I guess, at the time of this album.
Produced this one.
Yeah, Robert. So
Robert John.
I'm going to be like Parrish and give it an 11.
Jesus.
It's probably my favorite AC/DC album. I will say that.
All right. Yeah. Okay. But man, I can't argue with that. Whew. All right, Dave, the pressure's on.
Okay. Well, when Highway to Hell starts, if you can play 3 A chords and have it be instantly recognizable for all time, you're doing something right. And then I agree. I think Elder said when the drums come in, they just sound beautiful on that. When he goes, it's just like magic. That's great. The guitar solo on that is so basic, but it really fits the song. I think on Powerage, they let Angus go wild, and they kind of reined him in a little bit on this one, on Highway to Hell. I kind of think with Bon Scott's lyrics, too. The lyrics are better on Powerage, I think. But anyway, Highway to Hell, Mutt Lange kind of has that baby version of the gang vocals that he was just going to go crazy with later on. I mean, obviously the song sounds great. There's a big pick scrape, and then Bon Scott screams towards the end.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah. I mean, that is just it's just a great moment. This album, it was kind of satanic and scary looking, and AC/DC kind of tried to play that up, and that it's enticing in a way. Like I kind of said before, it's sort of forbidden. It goes against what my parents wanted.
And then there was they tried to tie AC/DC to that guy's killings, whatever. Richard Ramirez.
Richard Ramirez was the name.
They tried to tie because he wore an AC/DC hat, and there's this thing, and then they have a song called Night Prowler, and they're calling him the Night Stalker, but they somehow were trying. So that gave it another little edge of like forbidden type of fruit kind of thing as well, I thought.
Absolutely. You know, that's a very controversial sort of song, I would say. So let me talk about that since you brought it up, actually. So that for me, Night Prowler is probably my favorite song on the album. I would definitely say that's a 10 out of a 10. It kind of sounds like a horror movie. Most of the other songs on the album were about girls or women. And Night Prowler is kind of too. It's more about the feel, though, I think. And there's some great lines in there. He says a rat runs down the alley and a chill runs down your back. I just feel like Bon Scott he really ran wild with the imagery on this. And there's really some kind of sinister stuff in the lyrics too, you know. They're implying that this Night Prowler is maybe going to sexually assault and or murder somebody. It's just a song. You know, you brought up the whole Richard Ramirez thing. Now, I don't think somebody hears an AC/DC song and goes out and kills people because they heard an AC/DC song.
I haven't yet.
You know, that's not the way the world works, and that's not the way people work.
No.
But I can see how people connected the two, and, you know, AC/DC, you're bad because you're encouraging people to do bad things. Once again, though, it's just a song, right? But he does say you lie there naked like a body in a tomb. That's dark. You know, that's like, I'm going to get you.
That's like Black Sabbath or something type of stuff. You know?
Yeah.
He says, I'm going to make a mess of you.
Yeah, that's not nice.
That's not good intentions there. It's the longest song on both the albums. And I think it has the best jamming as far as just guitar playing, and as the song goes on, it just rolls, man. It keeps going. Now, I think the Shazbot Nanu Nano thing was kind of trying to tell everybody, okay, lighten up. It's not that serious. And I think it actually kind of takes away from it a little bit. I think if they would have left that off, it would have just left me feeling really cold and kind of scared, you know?
It's also kind of weird that those are like the last things on the album, and then Bon Scott dies, and that's like, you know, in the show it was taken from is like kind of saying see you later, you know, nanu I think, or something, I don't know, anyway, but it's just kind of weird that it was.
Do you think
Bon
Robin
Scott's
Williams had something to do with his death?
No.
No.
No. I'm going to state right here, unequivocally, no.
I don't know. I'm throwing
Gonna
it out.
crush that rumor right away.
He could have, maybe. Robin's not here to answer.
He wasn't in London that weekend. He was
He
not
could have
there.
been.
Nothing to do with him.
He wasn't out drinking, yeah.
He was not out drinking with Bond.
I can see that point, though, where that kind of would take away from the record, though.
It's a very dark song, and it's a very goofy ending to a very dark song. I mean, I don't really mind it that much, but
Does the panel, even though you gave them Elder and Parrish, gave this record an 11, it obviously doesn't take anything away from you.
No, I think it's part of the album's charm.
I liked it. I just thought it was a funny thing, and it was like at that time.
Mork and Mindy was big.
It was, yeah, and so it's like kind of like
that's
a
what
throwback.
I think it was all about. I think that's what it was all about. Is Mork and Mindy was just so huge that they just threw it. They liked the show and just threw it on there.
Yeah,
but all right, I'm good with that. All right, go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
Nanu.
Tangent.
Okay, so the other songs I decided to talk about were Touch Too Much. That song is just exciting from the first note. But once again, gives a lot of emphasis on the background vocals. He's starting to get into that whole gang chorus thing, which I'm not a huge fan of. But if you listen to that song, they invented Def Leppard. Go back, listen to Touch Too Much, and you're like, this is Def Leppard right here. All the way. It's really fun to listen to, and it's infectious. One line from that song is he says, she liked it done medium rare. Whatever that means.
You know what that means.
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, you do.
Ridiculous.
Yes, you do.
Rare. And if I do, I'm not going to try to explain it. It kind of gives
Understandable.
a squeal and a grunt at the end. You know, I saw Josh Homme one time talking about Bon Scott, and he said he's got this kind of way about him. And I thought that was just the perfect way to describe this thing that Bon Scott has going on. It's lascivious, you know. It's come here, little girl, I got the candy, you know. It's kind of off-putting, actually. You know, is it okay?
Perfect.
Is it okay, like in Nightprowler, to make a song about wanting to sexually assault, maybe murder somebody?
Well, that might
In
be
my
a-
book, I don't, you know, it's about a character, so it's not that big a deal. But, you know, who exactly was Bon Scott and how much was he acting out on these things that he said that he was into, you know?
I think if you listen to the other songs, the real Bon Scott comes out. The sense of humour, such as Shot Down in Flames, you know,
Sure.
just shows, you know, him being constantly knocked back by women when he's you know, sort of trying to chat them
Don't
up.
you touch her, she's mine, you know. A
You
guy
know,
comes up
so
and says,
I think
the
that's
humour's
what it
there all
is.
the way through. And look, you know, I mean, to be honest, I remember at the time, certainly in the UK, the press condemned AC/DC for Nightprowler. They thought it was there was the Yorkshire Ripper was a case over here at the time, a mass murderer, and it was thought to be tying into that. And you had exactly the same with Thin Lizzy about the same time with Killer on the Loose. Exactly the same criticism of Thin Lizzy with that song. So it seemed to be something that bands were picking up to try to make themselves sound a little bit more serious, I think, and a little bit more, as you say, almost like an act. I mean, it's like a film, isn't it? They're trying to do a horror film.
Sure, or you're
ways.
writing a story. You know, these are about characters. Yeah. It doesn't mean Bon Scott goes prowling around at night and sexually assault people, you know.
And I remember, I think it was in Sounds when they were interviewed and they were asked about it. They said, but we're not condoning it. There's nothing in the song that condones what's being sung about.
Right.
It's just it's a statement, not condoning it. So
it's not instructions for life.
No, exactly. but yeah, because of the Yorkshire Ripper, which was a big case around the same time, there was a lot of heat on AC/DC with that song.
Wow, that's very interesting to know.
Yeah, that the United States and the UK had something that was tied to that song.
Yeah, I had no idea about that Thin Lizzy connection too. That's crazy. The Killer on the Loose. Just a song, people. It's just a song.
Just a song, yeah.
Okay, I got two more off this one.
Go ahead.
Beating Around the Bush. Fast, fun, it's punky, but you know, once again, they got that real fast blues riff going on. Awesome. The band drops out during the verses. That sounds really cool. The lyrics are pretty cliche. There's stuff in there about sticks and stones and having your cake and eating it too. I'm not crazy about that. But the solos are just absolutely raucous in that song. They're just going nuts. The chorus is kind of underwritten. Doesn't even have a melody. He just says, beating around the bush. And that's it, you know. Maybe a little underwritten there. But despite that, the issues... That song rocks so hard towards the end, seriously. And I noticed there's a part where Bon Scott says, just give me one more chance. And his voice starts breaking up and cracking. And I'm so glad that Mutt Lange let them keep that in there because it's almost like an error or a mistake, but it just sounds so raw and you can tell he's so into it. And then the last song I want to talk about was If You Want Blood. I do think it was really cool that they made a live album and they called it If You Want Blood, and they said, oh my gosh, that's such a great title, we got to make something else out of it, because it is a great title. I mean, If You Want Blood, you got, like I said, like, what's something that you would want to sing? How great is that? If you want blood, you got it. You know, as a band and as a singer, when you're pumping out words like that, you can just put all the energy into that. It's just like pure rock power, right? And I think that the lyrics are kind of back to form on that one too. When he says it's criminal, there ought to be a law. That's classic right there. You really can't touch that. There's blood everywhere, every last drop, you know. At another point, he says, I'm feeling like a Christian locked in a cage, you know. Just so many great lines on that song. So much fun. So, gosh. You know what? I thought I was going to have to say which album I liked better, and I was going to flip a coin before the show, which I never did because I kind of decided I liked Powerage a little bit better, maybe, but I don't know. I'm going to give this album a 9 too. So it's better with the ratings because now I can just say they're tied.
Yeah.
I do feel like there are some songs on both albums that aren't as good as the other songs, which is why I don't give them a 10 or 11.
Yeah, I kind of get that. Yeah.
But they're great albums. Great albums. If I was going to put on an AC/DC album, one of those I'd probably be reaching for it. So.
Yeah. See, if I put on an AC/DC album, I don't ever listen to, maybe I've heard it too much. But Highway to Hell, you have to admit, listen, Highway to Hell, Girls Got Rhythm, Walk All Over You, Touch Too Much, Beating Around the Bush, Shot Down in Flames, and then Get It Hot, which I think the Elder mentioned was kind of a great track, but then it's kind of one of those tracks that doesn't get much attention. And then you go, If You Want Blood, You Got It, which is great. And then Love Hungry Man, well, he likes it. It could be a single. That's what the Elder said. And then Night Prowler. So the whole thing seems almost like a single to me. Like the whole damn thing could be released as a single. But when I go back to it, this isn't the album that I return to. I always return to Powerage because I think it seems like a less commercial effort. It's a lot rawer.
It's more downbeat lyrically.
More downbeat.
Sure.
I don't know. There's just something.
It's more kind of like I'm down and out. Life's tough.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm down and out. I'm down on my luck. This one's like
let's open some Budweisers.
Beer, let's throw empty
buds.
Let's hit on women and drink and
sit in the city parking lot and shoot the loop.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it all depends. I'm not saying that that's worse.
But
it's just different.
It's different.
Up to this point, and probably Back in Black as well.
100%.
Every album has a theme. Every album has a song about hell. Every album has a song about drinking. Every album has a song about causing trouble, like TNT or Dirty Deeds. Every album has a song about lust. There's a theme across every single album and I think it's there for Back in Black. I think they lose it later. I don't think they write a love song during any of this. There's no one song that I think is about love. They're all about hell, rock and roll, causing trouble. Those are the things.
I don't know. I'm pretty
sex,
sure Beating Around the Bush is about love.
You reckon that's a love song?
And also, Beating Around the Bush. Beating Around the Bush is also on the Bonfire box set is Backseat Education. So there is a difference. So there is something there.
There's something there.
They did change.
If a girl's got
Backseat
rhythm,
Education,
doesn't that mean you might love her because she has rhythm?
The girl's got rhythm,
you're gonna fall in
rhythm.
love.
I don't think when you're singing about the girl's rhythm being the backseat rhythm, they're talking about love.
I think they're just tapping out drum beats.
I think that's exactly. They're in the back of the car listening to the album, having a
clapping their hands.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
All right.
Things were all about lust.
Mm-hmm.
They're about hell. They're about having a drink. They're about having trouble. That's the themes on every and so I think Powerage and Highway to Hell have exactly the same themes across both albums.
Yeah. All right, cool. So I would give this. I think this is as good an album as Powerage.
Aged
Powerage or Powerage, whatever you want to call it. It just depends how you look at it. But I always return to Powerage more than I return to Highway to Hell, probably because I've heard Highway to Hell more often. And that's not taking anything away with it, but Powerage always seems to have, when you listen to it, something always pops out that maybe you haven't noticed. It's just not all clean and glossy, and I kind of like that it's not. And I love the production that's so upfront. Nothing to take away from Mutt. If you like Mutt, that's fine. But, Vanda and Young,
Baby Mutt,
like what they did. So I would give it a 9. It's the same. It's equal. So if we look at everything we've got, well, we come up with 2 11s and 2 9s. We come up with a 10. Ladies and gentlemen, the first time we've ever done a Battle of the Rock, and it come out with a perfect 10. So, ladies and gentlemen, the winner is Highway to Hell.
But only just.
The winner.
Just a little bit, because we had
Just
a
a little bit,
9.25 on Powerage. So,
Splitting hairs, man.
but
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Good
Yeah,
albums.
I mean, either one, you can't go wrong. Really, they're both great albums, and they both have their things that make that maybe the other one lacks that makes it stand out. Makes each one better for that reason.
All right, kids. Elder and I have to go. I want to thank Dave for being on the show. I want to thank the Parish of Rock. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Please let us know what you think of Powerage and Highway to Hell and your rating. We do want to know. If you'd like to be on these shows, we'd love to have you. We have a Patreon. You could support us that way. If you don't want to support us on Patreon, we have a Ko-fi. Buy us a pint or a cup of coffee. What would Bon want? He would want you to buy us a pint. Buy us. We also take donations, but we're here just talking music. Hopefully we turned you onto something. If you're not familiar with these records, you want to go and check them out. So anyway, Dave, welcome to the panels.
Dave.
Parish,
Well, man.
Elder, keep it clean, gentlemen.
Hey, nice to meet you guys.
See you on the
Yeah.
next-
Nice to meet you.
All right, gentlemen,
Right.
see ya.
Well done.